Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Fantasy Football Podcast. Thoughts, analysis, and information to help you succeed in your fantasy football leagues. I am your host, Chad Lyon, and I am here, as always, with Tyler Bevel.
Hey.
And our producer, Mitchell Bird.
Hello.
And this will be our fourth and final episode of Division by Division. And today we have the AFC and NFC West. But Tyler, did you have a good time the other night?
I did.
Mitchell?
Oh, yeah.
For those that don't know, which is probably all of you, we had a podcast Dynasty startup the other night where we invited a bunch of, fantasy footballers, buddies of ours that are, pretty savvy dudes. And it's a real league with real money, real people. And we're going to use that as kind of a reference point for our podcast. That episode will be coming probably after this one. So that'll be a fun one. We'll kind of cover some teams and we'll cover our own teams and, go over some strategies and all kinds of stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. But before we get going on this today, we have our top 3 list. Tyler, are you ready?
Yeah.
Top 3 food choices.
Oh.
As in like an entree. You're sitting down at dinner. What do you want in front of you? Or supper. I don't know. Depends on what time frame or part of the country you're from.
Yeah.
Dinner, supper, I don't know. When you sit down at the end of the day, what do you want in front of your face?
Number 1, I'm going to go with a northern pike fillet.
That is so specific.
It
sounds so good.
It's my favorite freshwater fish. I absolutely love them. You can cook it any way you want, and I'm going to eat it, whether you broil it, bread it. I have a recipe for mock lobster that's just, it's out of this world. So number 1 is northern pike. I like them even more than walleye, and I eat bass. Some people think they're a garbage fish. So, I mean, I'm not a fussy.
It's so good. That
I'm not a fussy freshwater.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Bass are fine. People just don't know how to fillet them.
It's fantastic.
Number 2, I have a recipe, and I think it's just from like a Taste of Home cookbook, but stuffed seafood shells. And
that sounds awesome.
Oh, man. Crab meat.
Oh.
Little mini shrimps in there.
Come on.
Oh, it's so good. Over like with an Alfredo sauce over it.
You're killing me.
It's great. Number 3 is a little bit more basic. I'm just going to go with your good old-fashioned tacos. If you want to spice up fish tacos, any kind of taco you make, I'm probably going to eat it.
Just put something in that shell.
Yeah, and I'm good to go. Put some sour cream and some taco sauce on there, and it's fine.
That's awesome. I love tacos. Who doesn't love tacos? Mm-hmm. Mitchell, what do you got?
Well, I'm with Ty on the seafood and just about anything that comes out of the water. But for me, my number 1 is lobster. Give me lobster, a big old cup of butter, salt. That's all you need. Number 2... got to go with a classic steak.
Right on.
Yeah.
Any specific cut?
Ribeye for sure.
That's a great steak.
That's my go-to. And
how done has it got to be?
Oh, it's got to be medium rare. No more.
Yeah.
No more.
That's my guy.
If it's a good cut of steak, it's got to be,
don't ruin it. Just
restaurants usually have
5 minutes each side, pull it.
Yeah.
And
I don't want it. Fine. Just eat it.
That's right.
Maybe 6 if you're going medium rare.
And then we're talking about rare. I like sushi, actually. That's my number 3.
I love sushi. Don't love sashimi, but I love sushi.
I can go with
like
sashimi.
the rolls. I know sashimi's like the real sushi or whatever, but
I just have to have fish with my sushi. If it's sushi with fish in it, like I don't like the rolls that don't have actual fish.
Yeah, what's the point?
That's
just stuff in a roll.
It's not sushi anymore.
Did you eat just like sushi though without the rolls, just like a piece?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a little bit of wasabi. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to try I don't know. I've had a couple pieces of sushi where it's like, I would have still cooked it, Well,
it better be fresh.
I mean, I think it was. It's not that. I don't know. I was like, well, this would be really good fried up in some butter, but I don't know.
That's fair.
But to each their own. I love the rolls, though.
I'm going to go with 1 ribeye steak, medium rare. There's just no other way.
2 votes for the ribeye.
Butter, salt, pepper, done. Chicken Alfredo, but my wife Julie has to make it. That's a rule.
Fair point.
And simple, like you with your third one in tacos, I'm going to go with smash burgers. But I have to make them because I'm the best at it.
What's a smash burger?
Okay. So you got to know what this is. These are incredible. So you're going to take a loosely packed ball of meat, like no more than a quarter pound. I go just a bit less. You take these loose balls of meat, you put them on your flat top. Like I use a Blackstone. Let them sear a little bit on the one side, and then you can either have a burger smasher, which is like a big round metal circle with like a handle on top of it. I don't have that. I have 2 big spatulas, and I take some parchment paper, lay it over that ball of meat, and smash it down with that spatula. And I take the handle of the other end and just kind of rotate it around the spatula and like really smash it and spread it out. It's got to be like paper thin.
Really?
Both sides get real good encrusted. It cooks fast. Slice of cheese on each patty. Toast your bun. Throw that baby on that bun. And then I make some like a burger sauce, which is like mayo based, little mustard, little ketchup, Worcestershire, dash of hot sauce, cracked pepper, mix it all up. Mitchell's had them.
Man, yeah, he's an expert.
And if you want to get crazy, you throw a little relish in there with it too.
Really?
Your burger sauce. Yeah, it's an awesome burger.
I'm very
It's
envious
so
that
good.
Mitchell's had them and I haven't.
You will. We'll make it happen.
I'm offended.
We're going to make it happen. But first, let's make the AFC West happen. And let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyler, who finishes wide receiver 1 on this team?
Loaded question.
A little bit because of Rashee Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just assume that he's suspended.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guessing? 6 to 8 games?
I would say, I'd caution on the safe side and just say 8. If it's
Okay.
less, cool.
Then I'm going to go Xavier Worthy as my wide receiver 1.
Good pick. I agree.
I do think that Rashee Rice gets in there. I think with the speed that they've added on the outside with Xavier Worthy, 4'2", 140, Hollywood Brown, we know he's fast. You have to respect the deep ball from this team again.
Yep.
And I just think Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice are going to be carving them up middle of the field. But Xavier Worthy with the Rashee Rice situation is my wide receiver 1.
On this team, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get peppered with screens too. He's
Yeah.
could be a little bit. I mean, Kelsey's going to be the real target hog here, I think. I would assume. But Xavier Worthy, and let's be honest, Andy Reid draws up screens like nobody.
Yeah.
He is the screen master, and I can just see Xavier Worthy taking serious advantage of that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm with you on
The run
Xavier
after the
Worthy.
catch ability is definitely there, too.
Oh, yeah. He should get you a lot of yak in this offense. And
And his
like
ability
right out of
to-
the gate, then you're thinking
Yeah.
like right now.
Yeah, his ability to take the top off with his yak ability. Xavier Worthy,
Do you feel like Hollywood's a little one-dimensional and
a little bit.
and that helps Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, and I still think Hollywood Brown is a big addition to this team because of the
Sure.
speed. And now you have 2 guys on the outside that you can't. I feel like that's maybe one thing that Kansas City lacked last year. Was
It
that
is.
They,
I would
they
agree.
Didn't really have a lot of pressure on the defense. Like, hey, we can throw the deep ball. Now they can.
It was like Rice, Valdez Scantling, some little bit of Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, some Sky Moore. Like it was just like a mishmash.
Yeah, and
Outside of Rice, I guess. And then you had Kelsey, the poor dude just couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double covered all day.
All day long.
And even when MVS did break through, he's got speed too. But we all remember the drop at the end of the game there.
Yeah, and as far as fantasy goes, like we're not even really thinking about Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Justin Ross.
I think Justin
Mecole
Watson.
Hardman's back.
Yeah, I think Justin Watson makes the lineup, but I think Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney are competing for jobs.
I think you're probably right. I think you're right. Are you concerned at all with Kelsey's fantasy production from last year, or do you expect a little bit of a bounce back this year? Considering like what we just talked about, there's some more weapons now. You're gonna have to respect things more. A little bump for Kelsey this year.
Yeah, he had good numbers last year: 935 yards or 984 yards, 5 touchdowns. I expect both of those numbers to be up a little bit, just because of what we talked about with Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy. I think those guys are good enough that you can't just double cover Travis Kelce every
That's
play.
not going to work very
It's
good.
not.
Mm-mm.
So I think Travis Kelce does get an uptick in his numbers. I know his age is getting up there, but it doesn't bother me.
I think he's still got it in the tank. Like
Yeah, me too.
barring health and stuff like that, the guy's still a gamer. He's still super elite. Yeah. Okay. How about Pacheco? Do you think he can finish as a top 5 back? And for reference, he's ranked 10th among running backs on Fantasy Pros with an ADP of 11. That's for redraft.
Yeah, I think he could finish as a top 5 back. They didn't really put anything behind him. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back for a 1-year deal. We saw what his role behind Pacheco was last year. It's not a lot. I think Isaiah Pacheco, 935 yards last year, rushing, 7 touchdowns. I think that number goes up. I think the touchdown number goes up on the rushing side. And I think you see more of what you've seen towards the end of the year, where he was very involved in the pass catching game. He had 44 catches for 244 yards and 2 scores. And I see that number going up as well. So,
He's a way better pass catcher than what he gets credit for.
He is.
I love the way he runs.
I want stock in Isaiah Pacheco. I only have him in 1 league. I'd like to get him in more.
I've got 0 in Dynasty, but we got a couple redrafts coming up, and I plan to change that. Hey, let's go over a few guys real quick ahead of him. So he's 10. Directly ahead of him, Rashad White. You like him better than Rashad White this year?
Yeah.
Kyron Williams?
Yeah, very close, though.
ETN?
I like him better than ETN.
Barkley?
No.
Jonathan Taylor?
Yes.
Gibbs?
No.
Bijan?
No.
Brees Hall?
No.
McCaffrey?
No.
So that's 1, 2, 3. You said yes over Gibbs, yes over Taylor, no over Barkley. That puts him right at 5.
Yeah, I think so. He'd be rated 6. I think I said no over Gibbs. I think I said Gibbs I would take.
Oh,
over
did
him.
you? Okay, my bad.
But still, I think,
He's right there.
Yeah, and an injury to one of those guys puts him in the top 5, which is, you don't want that to happen, but obviously very well could.
It happens, especially to running backs. Okay. And Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. Like, you're not going to argue with anybody for drafting him. Please don't take him in the first round, but
No, but this is a running back who's going to get the workload that you're not stacking the box against. That
sure
is, we've talked about it. He runs angry, man. This guy,
Yeah.
I love his playing style. I think if we're not going to call last year kind of a breakout for Isaiah Pacheco, this year is a breakout year.
That's a very fair point. Very fair point. Okay, let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Tyler, are we concerned at all that Harbaugh's run-heavy style could potentially put a dent in Herbert and his pass catcher's fantasy potential this year?
No, from the standpoint of last year. I mean, it wasn't a great year for the Chargers last year. Justin Herbert, 3,100 yards, 20 touchdowns. I think both those numbers actually come up, even with the run-heavy scheme.
Even with Harbaugh coming in.
Yep, I think both those numbers actually come up. I think for a lot of it last year,
that was rough.
Especially at the end, like when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were hurt, it just felt like Justin Herbert was trying to go out there with a cape on and be Superman, and
Sure.
just didn't have the help.
Most guys aren't going to be able to do that.
No, but I think this year they get the run game going, play action gets going. Herbert's still an elite level quarterback, and I think those numbers come up from last year. I don't think 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns is. I think that's definitely within Justin Herbert's realm of
Sure, very
numbers
reasonable.
he could put up. Yep.
Are you comfortable with him as your QB1?
In that range that he's getting drafted, I feel I kind of want to go after maybe some of the more athletic guys.
Sure.
But yeah, if that's how it falls, yeah.
You'd be okay with it?
Yep.
You had to?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll say this. I know this is a while ago. People are probably going to roll their eyes, but Andrew Luck was fine under Harbaugh at Stanford.
Yeah.
He was fine. So we're talking the NFL here. Like, you don't just ignore that you have Justin Herbert.
No.
And he was a quarterback. He's a quarterback's guy. Like, he just knows quarterbacks really bank off run games. That's just
the play action. I think if this running game gets going, I stand by
Yeah.
that this is just going to help Justin Herbert. And I actually think his numbers come up from last year.
okay. Good point. With the run heavy or run heavier approach kind of in mind, which running back should we be targeting? And do you think it's like a tandem approach, three-headed monster, or is there one guy that you want or that we should kind of expect to run the show?
In a redraft, I want J.K.
In a
Dobbins.
redraft or like win now and like, you know, you're a contender in a
Yeah, I'll
dynasty
take
league.
the upside on Dobbins then. if I have to
That's my
take one.
guy.
Definitely in Dynasty, I want Vidal, though.
Sure. That's a fair point.
It's a big upside thing with J.K. Dobbins because he's going late.
It's very late. Very
So
late.
If he can stay healthy, there's no way he doesn't surpass his ADP right now.
It's all been small little sample sizes because he's just always hurt. But man, those little sample sizes just scream elite running back.
They do.
I will die on that hill. I don't care what. Now, with that said, this is my last year standing on this hill. But I will always die on the hill of if J.K. Dobbins was healthy, he would have been a fantastic NFL running back. And I think you're blind if you don't.
Oh, it was there on the tape. I do wonder, with all these knee injuries piling up, does he have the explosiveness? You know,
A little worrisome. And Achilles.
The Achilles last year. You got to take that chance, and you're playing for the upside if you do.
At this point, why not?
But I do think this is still a tandem with him and Gus Edwards, but
Sure.
much more upside for J.K. Dobbins.
And if Dobbins goes down, it's Kamani and Gus, right? Not Spiller. Like Spiller's kind of getting phased out, you think? Or?
In a redraft, I want Gus as my handcuff.
Okay.
Dynasty, I want Vidal all the way.
Okay. Good enough. Good enough. Who's wide receiver 1 on this team by year's end?
That's a tough one.
It is.
I'm going to go with Josh Palmer.
Really?
Yeah. And this is tough for me. Quentin Johnson last year, he just couldn't seem to get it all together.
Well, he can't catch while he's running.
Yeah. As odd as that sounds, that seems to be an accurate thing. I don't know. But Josh Palmer, I'd have liked to see Josh Palmer play all of last year without the injuries and stuff. Because there was definitely flashes there.
Yeah. Struggles with separation a little.
Yeah. And
you've touched on that.
Once Keenan Allen and Mike Williams went down, then that plays into the Justin Herbert thing where I said he was trying to be Superman. Because Quentin Johnston nor Josh Palmer were getting separation. I'm still going to say, I think, with what I've seen from Josh Palmer.
Just because he's been around, he's been there.
Yeah.
Even with a new regime.
You're talking him and Quentin Johnston both finished last year with 38 catches. And that's your presumed 1 and 2. And if I have to pick one, I guess I'm going Josh Palmer. You can make a strong argument for... Go ahead.
I'm going to push back.
Okay, good.
I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey.
Yeah,
I know he's a rookie, and I know it can be tough for rookies. But I'm going into this with Harbaugh's run-heavy style in mind. And I'm thinking McConkey's got to be the slot receiver. I think it's almost a guarantee. I think Ladd McConkey is going to be the slot receiver. And pounding the rock like that and banking off play action, those quick hitters, is where I could just see him just compiling catches.
Yeah.
And compiling catches and it might not be a ton of yardage. There's going to be moments, but I just think there's potential there for kind of like a PPR machine.
Like an Edelman type role.
Not as good, but yeah, that kind of role, man.
Right.
I know he's a rookie. I know he's young. I get that. But just to go for a reference point, we'll go through these receivers. Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer, Brendan Rice, who you and I both also like.
Yeah.
Quentin Johnson. Then it's like DJ Chark, Darius Davis, Simi Fehoko. To me, after Johnson, it's like I've seen enough from DJ Chark, man. Haven't you?
Yeah.
Honestly, I've seen enough from Quentin Johnson. Just that 1 year was enough. It's like, okay, you can catch when you're standing still, but boy, when you're moving.
DJ Chark is good depth, but I think that's why he's brought here.
That's why he's there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey. I just see almost like a PPR machine type thing. Maybe machines, not the right word to use because he is a rookie, but sometimes rookie surprise.
Solid argument. And speaking of rookie surprise, Brendan Rice surprised anybody here?
Very possible.
Yeah.
Because it's Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson, like we just touched on.
Good chance he gets an opportunity.
Eventually, I could see, what's he, like 6'3", outside guy. He's not going to be in McConkey's way. Like that's, I could see that eventually. I don't know how fantasy relevant it's going to be, but I would pay attention to that. Jerry's got him running up the hill every day. Oh, every day. Every day. He critiques the hell out of his poor kid. Did you see him at the combine? Like, well, he didn't really do this at the top of his rally. That was funny. I don't know how relevant he's going to be fantasy-wise this year right now. I would want Brendan Rice on my dynasty bench.
Good dynasty stash.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think he might be good enough. Like, you don't even need to put him on your practice squad. It might take 3/4 of the season to start seeing him get out there. I don't know. But going forward, it's not going to be Josh Palmer or Quentin Johnson.
No, because if you can catch, you're an upgrade to them too at this point. I mean, that's Josh Palmer not as bad as Quentin Johnston, but jeez.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Anything else to touch on with these guys?
Nope.
I don't think so either. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos. And Tyler, can Bo Nix produce weekly fantasy relevant receivers like consistently? Or should we be expecting like a little here, a little there from like a handful of different pass catchers?
Yeah, the latter. I think, especially for this year. I'm not saying Bo Nix can't develop into a quarterback that can sustain 2 wide receivers, but I think it's going to be really spotty from the wide receiving core this year. Yeah,
we're talking Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, who I like. Marvin Mims, I'm not real sure. Tim Patrick, he's good, but Josh Reynolds, they drafted Devon Vele. Yeah, I think it's going to be like a sprinkled approach. Like, today's Sutton's day, and Today it was kind of Sutton's day, but Troy Franklin did a little damage too, or maybe Mims, or
I would like to see Mims
see
step
some
up.
Tim Patrick in there. I think Tim Patrick's a good receiver. It's just a health thing.
Yeah, coming back from that injury, is he going to be able to get back to that form? Now it's 2 years in a row where he's had a season-ending injury.
Right.
It's getting rough.
So
I'd like to see more from Marvin Mims this year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are your top three for this team the same as mine? Sutton, Franklin, Mims, or maybe even Sutton, Mims, Franklin?
I'm going Sutton, Mims, Franklin, at least to begin the season.
You think Patrick's a fourth wheel?
Yeah, I do.
I can get down with that, yeah. Okay.
And to go with that, I think this is another team that wants to run the ball.
Yes. With that said,
yeah.
How does the running back room shake out here? Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Audric Estime. Ty's guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a bowling ball.
He is.
Yeah.
And I think especially on that first and second down work, I think Javonte Williams and Audric Estime are sharing carries.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't think Javonte Williams can just make Audric take a back seat? I think he's that good. Javonte, I do, but
he has to be better than last year. And granted, he came off the big ACL injury.
Yes.
And he was playing week 1 of last year.
Yes, and he shouldn't have.
No, he shouldn't have. And if he can get back to form, which I did not see last year.
No.
Then maybe I'll give you that. But I mean, you're talking last year, the Broncos offensive line ranked 3rd in run block win rate. Javonte Williams had 3.5 yards per carry.
That's rough. But I'm going to give I'm sorry. I'm going to give him a
Jaleel
little
McLaughlin?
pass. Yes.
5.4 yards per carry.
Yes, that's true.
Not to mention, Sean Payton came right out and said after they drafted Audric Estime that he envisions him as a first and second down runner. So
the Sean Payton thing really gets in the way here,
I think
too.
It does.
He didn't draft him. We've talked about that.
Right.
He wants his guys, period.
But you have to factor that in. And I think Javonte Williams gets the nod, but I think he's on the hot seat.
Yeah, short leash.
Not to mention
that
the salary
bums me
cap
out.
situation in Denver is just, and thanks to Sean Payton,
yeah,
it's just terrible. I mean, they did lose, talking about that line, talking about cap cut, they did lose center Lloyd Cushenberry. He's off to Tennessee.
Yep.
That's a big hit. Still bringing in the other guys. I still think this offensive line is going to be solid. They also ranked 8th in pass block win rate. This is a good offensive line. But I think Javonte Williams is on the hot seat, and I think he needs to get back to his 2022 form for him to hold off Estime. And I think Estime is, because he's Peyton's guy, and Jaleel McLaughlin being there, I don't think it's the runaway that some people are anticipating.
I think the problem is talking this out like this. I think Javonte needs a new start somewhere.
I would go along with that 100%.
That may be the big. When I watch Javonte Williams, there's something nostalgic in him that I see. Do you remember Jamal Anderson?
Yeah, Falcons.
With the Falcons.
Yeah,
he reminds me of him. Does he not?
Yeah,
he's
smaller, but
he's so pro. Yeah, he's that stout, prototypical man. He just seems like he should be so good. And in year 1, I believe he was. He had his breakout game against Kansas City. Crushed
that player in year 1. If you can sustain that for a whole season, that's a top 10 back.
Oh yeah.
But Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't think you can ignore what he did last year either.
You can't.
Audric Estime is, kid's just a bruiser. I think it's going to be tough for Javonte Williams to fend these guys off.
I was riding real hard with Javonte just not that long ago. I'm starting to worry a little bit. I have no stock in him. I have him in a 16-man league where we have to come up with our cuts here soon.
Yeah.
$30 cap. It's a cap league, and I have him at $1.10. I think I'm going to let him go. I do. I think I'm going to let him go, and
you're bummed if he goes to a new team.
Yes, I am. I will be very upset.
And to be fair, I think he does. I don't think, with his contract situation, that he's even in Denver, probably not next year.
Do you think he could go this year before the deadline?
No.
They kind of need him.
They want to
Peyton
stock.
needs
They
him
want,
there.
even if he's not maybe the guy, they want a stock running back room to support a young quarterback, whether that be, I think it's going to be Bo Nix, but
extremely valid point.
Yeah,
it is. It's
the other
be
quarterbacks
Bo.
are going to be. It's not like they can carry a team. I mean, Jarrett Stidham and now I can't think. Zach Wilson. Whoever's playing quarterback week 1 is going to need help from the running game to be.
It'll be Bo.
I think it's Bo. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Cortland Sutton. a lot of luck in last year. Those 10 touchdowns. Can he repeat the 10 touchdowns from last year, or is that kind of an outlier?
Outlier.
I think so too, man. To me, it was Russ is in trouble, chuck it up. And like there was a few times where he just kind of chucked it up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Sutton was there and just kind of high pointed it and caught it in the corner of the end zone. That happened a few times.
But and back to the quarterback thing, whoever's playing quarterback is not going to be as good as Russell Wilson. You say what you want about Russell Wilson.
I agree.
Bo Nix could become a better quarterback.
Sure.
As time goes on. We don't know what to expect there.
Right.
But I don't think 10 touchdowns is at all sustainable for Cortland Sutton. I had a lot of teams offer me Cortland Sutton in trades at the end of last year, and I didn't take any of them.
No, I don't want any stock in him, actually. I would say Bo Nix, Franklin, McLaughlin, and Estime. I probably would, like, if we're talking Dynasty.
If we're talking Dynasty, and I'll be totally honest with you, I want Marvin Mims over Cortland Sutton at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. Very fair point. You got anything else for these guys?
Nope.
I really don't either. That's kind of a tougher team to cover. I don't think. Do you think there's going to be a lot of fantasy output there? Are you kind of scared of that? Who's your favorite fantasy player this year, right now on this team?
On the Broncos team,
right now, you're trying to win right now. Whether it's redraft, which again you're always trying to win, or contender mode in a dynasty league. What player on this team do you want, if any? Right.
Javonte Williams. Not to contradict what I said, because I think he does get touches, but I think his workload is impeded a little bit by who's there. But I mean, I don't think this team's going to pass for a lot of yards. I think even if Estime and McLaughlin are getting work, Javonte Williams is still, at the end of the season, the running back with the best stats. So if I have to pick one, I'm picking Javonte Williams in a win now.
And do you think that all that Jaleel McLaughlin stuff last year, do you think that was real?
Yeah.
Do you think more work is coming?
It's hard to deny. They ran behind the same offensive line. One guy had 3.5. One guy had over 5 yards per carry. I mean, it's tough to say, like, okay, well, we're going to go back to this guy.
Right.
I think they will go to Javonte Williams, but I think McLaughlin he's earned some touches.
That's a good point. Okay, let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. Ty, do you think that Zamir White can be a top 15 back this year? For reference, he's ranked 22 among running backs on Fantasy Pros redraft rankings, and also his ADP is 22. So can Zamir White be we'll say not sneak inside, but be a top 15 back? Is that a little too lofty for you?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Tell me why.
I think he gets the work. Even with they got Dylan Labe. They're bringing Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison has proven in Minnesota that he can be good as a complement role, but he can't really carry the load.
Nope.
I think Zamir White is getting the touches.
That's what you want.
Yeah. I think those opportunities are going to be Zamir White.
Yep. Opportunities equal points. So you think he can get all the way up into 15?
Yeah. I mean, in this offensive line, Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, this is a good offensive line. It
is a good O-line. Let's, you want to do the same exercise we did with Pacheco?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry, he's 23. My bad. Yep, okay. My fault. One off. I was close.
Yeah.
So Zamir White's 23. We're still saying top 15, correct?
Yep.
Okay, there's some names here. Can he be better than DeAndre Swift?
Yeah.
David Montgomery?
Yeah.
James Conner?
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson?
Yeah.
I agree with all of them so far. Aaron Jones?
Yeah.
Ken Walker?
Yeah.
Joe Mixon?
No.
James Cook?
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs?
Yeah.
He's in your 15.
Okay.
There he is right there. Because after that, you got Kamara, which I also feel like he could be.
And when you're naming off them players, there's a lot of good names there, but I don't think anybody...
They're not getting the opportunities.
They're not going to have the workhouse role that I think Zamir White is at least going to get out of the gate, and I honestly think he's going to seize it.
I think so, too. I like what I've seen out of him.
Oh, the end of last season. 4 games where he was a starter. 2 of them were over 100 yards rushing against good defenses.
Yep. Very good point. All right, so we're both loving Zamir White this year. Who's second on this team in targets behind Devontae Adams? Jacoby Myers or Brock Bowers? If you had to pick one. Second in targets behind Devontae.
Jacoby Myers.
I want to say Bowers so bad, and I know he was so good in college, but outside of Sam Laporta, how many rookies... And this is a Raiders team that's not that good. Though I think that we'll see an uptick
I think this Raiders team, not to go off of what you're saying, I think this team is going to surprise a couple people. They're going to be fighters, and they're good in the trenches.
Antonio Pierce is trying to change things.
Yeah.
Changing that culture.
Honestly, I think this team has weapons, and Zamir White. And to get back to your Brock Bowers point, the reason I'll take Jacoby Myers over Brock Bowers is that Mayer is still there.
Okay.
And I don't think you can just ignore that guy.
No, he's Michael Mayer is not a bad tight end.
No.
I mean, if you're going off college tape, he seems fairly legit to me.
I thought he did good at the end of last year.
He
too.
did.
I just don't think you can completely ignore that. Factoring in what tight ends typically do in year one, I'll go. And I think Jacoby Myers is super underrated.
He is. He's got
He's
great
a great
hands.
possession receiver.
He sure is. PPR machine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. I just honestly, it's like, who am I gonna? Trey Tucker, Michael Gallup. Like, it kind of had to be Myers or Brock Bowers as far as who's.
Trey Tucker intrigues me, and if this team has a top flight quarterback, I want some stock in Trey Tucker. But
Dude can boogie.
He can. But for now, with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew in there, I don't have a ton of interest in him other than in Dynasty. But I like Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, and I want Brock Bowers over Michael Mayer.
Sure.
But
he could make things difficult fantasy wise.
Yeah.
It's a great thing for them, real life Raiders. It is a good thing for them.
I went into this thinking like, well, this Raiders team is bad. And then you actually start looking at it and you're like, well, man, their offensive line is, I would say, top 10. 2 Pro Bowl left tackles. The interior is good. The weapons are there, especially if Zamir White can carry a load. And it's really hinged on what Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell can do. Because this defense played, remember the game against Kansas City last year to end the season after
sure
Romeo
do.
Pierce took over? I mean, This defense is nothing to scoff at either.
After who took over?
Or
You say Antonio Pierce.
Antonio
I'm with you.
Pierce,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. It's a lot of names here. Sometimes they're gonna.
Antonio Pierce. Thank you, Chad.
All right.
But after he took over, that defense clicked up.
Oh yeah.
And he's a player's coach. I think this team is going to come out and play hard for him. I
Rally
think
right around
Raiders
him.
are going to surprise teams this year.
They very well could, but is the problem going to be, as far as surprising teams, Minshew versus O'Connell?
I want O'Connell in there. If I'm a Raiders fan, or even from a fantasy standpoint, give me O'Connell. I want to see what that kid can do.
Can either one of these guys do what you just said? Help these guys surprise teams?
Yeah.
Because Minshew to me is flat out, period, 100% a average to pretty good game manager.
I think that's what this team needs to be competitive, though.
Okay. But do you feel like O'Connell gives them more than that? Could potentially give them. He
could potentially.
You and I were talking before this, minimal on the mistakes. I mean, and to your point, they didn't ask him to do a ton.
No. But I mean, you're talking a guy thrown in there at the end of his rookie season, 2,218 yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
That's not bad.
I want to see
a
more.
Good little sample size.
I want to see more of what can happen with that. We've seen Gardner Minshew, like you said. I agree exactly. Average to mid-tier game manager style QB, which I think is what the Raiders need. But I think O'Connell can give them that, with potentially the ability to stretch the field better.
He has a better arm than Minshew,
Yeah.
I think. I think Minshew might be the best backup in the NFL.
Yeah, he's
right there with him.
He's kind of like the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to have a long career.
Yeah.
He ain't going anywhere.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, we're waiting for your book, by the way. We want to read that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd read that. So what do you think the Raiders are going to do? Do you think it's going to be Minshew week 1?
I'll say I think it's going to be O'Connell.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Just because, I mean, the kid's 23 years old. Why not?
If you're upper management, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I want to. If I'm upper management,
if it's too big for him after a few weeks, it's like, all right, let's get Gardner in there.
We got Gardner here, but like week 1, I want to come out and see what this kid can do.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do. I'll push back on you a little bit and say Minshew just because they brought him there. A little more, significantly more experienced. I'll say Minshew. You say O'Connell. But at the end of the day, I really don't know. I have no idea.
I'm not sure either. In the podcast league, I drafted them both. So I mean,
oh, did you?
Yeah,
I knew you took Minshew. Okay,
I took Minshew, and then, or no, did I take O'Connell? But whoever I took, the other one sat around for 2 more rounds, and then I took them too, just to sure it up.
All right, probably not a bad move.
Yeah.
You'll have a quarterback regardless.
In theory, it's not a good move either because you're wasting a spot. But he just sat there for 2 more rounds, and I was like, you know what? At this point, I'm gonna just make sure I have the Raiders quarterback room. And
was that your third quarterback at that point, or was that your second?
I think no, that's my third.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
So you got your 2 quarterbacks, your QB 1 and 2, and you got Minshew and O'Connell on the bench. And who knows? Somebody needs one. They're contending. They lose a quarterback. Well, you got some pretty awesome trade bait sitting there that you're not really crying.
Yeah.
If you get rid of it.
Not a great situation. I think my 2 quarterback right now is Bo Nix, and we just talked about him. So still kind of hoping for something from Maiden O'Connell.
I like Bo Nix, though.
Gardner Minshew, but
yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Not much more there unless you want to talk about Jalen Guyton or DJ Turner.
No, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the NFC West. And we'll start with the San Francisco 49ers. Tyler, I think at this point we've seen enough from Purdy to consider him a set it and forget it QB1 for your fantasy team, right? In both Dynasty and Redraft? Is there an argument there?
No.
QB6 last year.
And I don't care if you sit here and tell me, oh, he's a system quarterback. Well, guess what?
Well, guess what?
He's in the
that
San Francisco
system.
49ers system.
Right.
And to me, I have one quarterback that, if you're just talking regular season for MVP, Lamar Jackson, I think, should have been 3rd or maybe even 4th in MVP voting, and I would have put Brock Purdy ahead of him.
Brock Purdy, he was fantastic.
He was great. 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 4,200 yards. I don't see that changing much.
Why would it?
You still have all the weapons. Still have a great offensive line anchored by Trent Williams. I mean, why? And you can say, okay, this guy's a system quarterback. Well, guess what? He does it better than Jimmy Garoppolo did.
He sure, yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo won games. Don't get me wrong, but like you want Brock Purdy over Garoppolo in that system. And
it's not close for me.
It doesn't matter whether he's a system quarterback or not. Right now, he's in the 49ers system, and that system produces fantasy points for QBs.
I'd have no issues if he was my QB1 in a Dynasty league.
No.
Because you think Shanahan's going anywhere?
No.
I mean, there's no way he's on a hot seat. It's constant production year after.
Him and John Lynch they're
tight.
Double trouble. And
as long as he's there and Purdy's his guy, what's the problem?
And 49ers fans they're clamoring for Super Bowl 6. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, this guy and granted it sucks. In the last 12 years they've lost 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 wasn't Kyle Shanahan, but
right.
2 were. I don't know. You don't ditch that guy though.
No. So I guess my point is as long as Kyle Shanahan's there and he's Kyle Shanahan's quarterback, I don't see the problem. And I don't see that changing anytime soon either. No. Shanahan leaving or Shanahan being like, okay, we're moving on to a new quarterback. I do not see that happening.
No, I look for Brock Purdy to be in San Fran for a long time. As well as Kyle Shanahan.
Okay, cool. Who do we expect the handcuff to CMC to be? You got Garendo, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason. Is there even really a handcuff there? Or if obviously we don't want this to happen, but if something were to happen to CMC, is it just kind of a mishmash of these 3, Garendo, Mitchell, Mason, or do you think someone gets the first nod?
I think it's a split backfield between Mitchell and Garendo if McCaffrey goes down. I think they try to handle that workload as more of a by committee at that point.
They have to because you can't lose Mitchell, and you will if you give it all to him.
Garendo is the guy I want.
Okay.
Because of Mitchell's injury history, and Garendo's speed is ridiculous.
He boogies. I'm not that highly interested. We talked about when we did the rookies. I'm not personally that interested in him because I'm not trying to run around and chase handcuffs right now. And you know how I am with running backs and Dynasty. We'll talk about that next episode. I only want
either of these players if I'm a Christian McCaffrey owner, in all honesty, because that's where they get their value from. If not, I'm probably not even drafting them.
I completely agree. Who's your favorite pass catcher in this offense? And let me piggyback on that. Can Pearsall carve out like a fantasy relevant role at all in this offense? So we'll start. Who's your favorite pass catcher? And we'll move on to that one.
I guess I'm going to go. You want to say Brandon Ayuk, but he just requested a trade.
Right.
So let me go with the Pearsall question first. If Brandon Ayuk is not there,
then the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Pearsall carves a role.
Yes.
Yeah, with Ayuk there, I think it's a little crowded. I do think at this point Ayuk does get traded.
It's sounding like it, man.
I mean, they need cap help anyways, so him requesting a trade, I think they wanted to keep him, but if he's going to be doing that, they're probably going to be like, well, we're going to need the cap money anyhow.
I don't think Shanahan puts up with it either.
No.
He's put him in the doghouse before. He's just it seems to me like he might just be over this. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. I've put you in the doghouse. I had to pull you back out of the doghouse. Obviously, he's a great receiver. I love Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to say my favorite pass catcher, as long as nothing happens. Let's just assume nothing happens. It's Ayuk for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's awesome.
He is. If he stays in San Fran, he's the guy that I want.
George Kittle, do you have a lot of interest there? He's awesome in real life, but my goodness, is he spotty in fantasy?
Yeah.
Like he'll get a 32, and then it's 3 weeks of single digits, and then he'll get you a 40.
In redraft, I still have a lot of interest in George Kittle. In Dynasty, not really. It's just getting to the point where
you can get Kittle late enough in redraft. It's okay.
But you're starting to feel like for a Dynasty, you're getting into the twilight years.
Yeah.
It just seems that way a little bit.
Even when now, and like if I'm a contender in Dynasty, like I'm looking elsewhere.
Probably, yeah.
Like if I'm like, okay, I need to go buy a tight end, and then I'm super solid, I'm not looking to buy George Kittle.
Because for a tight end, he still has a high ADP. I mean, there's still the name factor with George Kittle that comes with
Sure.
that. And it's still a pretty high ADP to get him. So, yeah, I'm probably looking elsewhere too.
Okay. And we agree on Pearsall. I mean, if Ayuk's not there, I mean.
I think Pearsall has all the intangibles to.
So Debo would be your favorite. Why is Debo your favorite? Or did you not say? Did I mishear you?
I didn't say, but Debo
Okay.
would be my favorite wide receiver if Ayuk isn't there.
Why is that?
I just think he's Purdy's number one. Looks for him, third downs when he needs something. Debo seems to be.
The fact he gets extra attention in the
Juwan
run
Jennings,
game.
because Juwan Jennings was great on
Hey, sneaky.
third down.
He's
was
their
amazing.
Justin Watson.
Yeah.
And Debo has the added element of running the ball.
Oh, yeah.
You know, end arounds, and they'll put him right in the backfield. And
And he's going to make payday on rack. And I think Debo's going to be there. So even from a dynasty standpoint, especially if Ayuk goes, I think Debo stays in San Fran.
oh yeah,
That's a great position for him to be in for a dynasty situation. Maybe he's at the second half of his career, but I look for Debo to still put up solid numbers.
we did that assuming that Ayuk is leaving or staying, but let's say he leaves. Where do we want to see him go for fantasy impact?
My heart wants me to go to him to go to the Steelers because I think they could use some wide receiver help. But I have Jaden Daniels in a couple leagues, so the Washington thing doesn't sound like a bad idea either.
What about Buffalo?
Yeah, that probably from a team standpoint, that probably makes the most sense.
I think it's going to be Washington though.
Yeah,
Just he's like posting online, watching their OTAs,
fanboy Jaden Daniels and stuff.
He was watching their mini camp, I guess.
But that's a scary room.
Yes,
Brandon Ayuk, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey.
that's pretty scary.
That's a scary room.
That's solid. And you got, he's aging, but he's beyond aging. But you got Eckler and Brian Robinson there. Neither one of them are slouches by any means.
No,
That's a good solid team. O-line's rough.
yeah, there's some big question marks.
O-line's rough. But the great thing about him going to Washington and all these Washington players, I know we're talking about the Niners, but fantasy speak, like that defense is not that great.
No, but
there should
offense,
be fantasy plenty.
for sure.
So just lots of fighting from behind, and Sam Howell but better.
Right.
Okay. You got anything else on the Niners?
No.
I don't think so. All right. Let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to say I guess it's me. I am expecting Geno to win the job initially. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that in mind, how long until Howell gets a crack, if at all? What's it going to take? Bad QB play?
I think Geno is on a tight leash, and I don't
Yeah.
even know that that's fair because even last season was not terrible for Geno. I mean, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He had some injuries. I think he missed 2 games. But people want that 2022 Geno. And I think if he plays at the 23 Geno level, not the 22, that eventually Howell gets a shot. And I don't even know if I think that that's fair to Geno, but I also think Howell's talent garners that. That guy was thrown into a role last year in Washington that was just bad. He was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL.
He took a whooping.
Still threw for over 4,000 yards, and you couldn't phase the kid.
Right. He's a gamer.
Gutsy.
Yeah, he's an absolute gamer. Gutsy's a great word.
So I think Geno Smith is on a tight list. To answer your question fully, I think Sam Howell at some point in this year, whether it be an injury or Geno not living up to expectations, gets a go at this.
So with that said, which QB do we prefer to help the pass catchers here? For me, it's Howell.
I want Sam Howell.
Yeah, me too. Does keeping Lockett delay kind of what we've all been hoping and waiting for from JSN, or are we expecting like kind of a step forward from JSN regardless of Lockett's presence?
Yeah, I think keeping DK. No,
I'm not a big.
I think it is hindering Smith-Njigba's fantasy value for this year.
It is killing me in Dynasty. I've got him in I got him in a 16 and 14 man league, and it is killing me.
And the talent's there. I think that kid's going to be good.
I think so too. I think for anyone in my boat, I think you just stay patient, especially if you're rebuilding. Just hang tight. Give it one more year. Start getting a little uncomfortable with it. I guess you can move on. I mean, I guess I probably would after that point. But I agree. I think it is going to hinder it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
It is. I'm with you, though. Stick with Jackson Smith-Njigba because it's going to happen. And I really, Seattle's spending a lot of money on their wide receivers right now, and I don't think that can continue.
Right.
To me, DK's got to go.
I agree. My opinion is, listen, DK has accomplished more in his life than I can ever hope to in mine.
Sure.
I just think he's overrated, especially real life, maybe not so much, but in the fantasy realm, I'm sorry, he is extremely overrated. And every time I see people draft him, it's always like, yeah, that was way too high. I understand, like they're just drafting him off where he's ranked.
Boomer bust wide receiver.
I am not a fan.
And boomer bust is tough in fantasy. You look at the end of season numbers and you're like, well, that's pretty good. 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. I'll take that.
But then you break it down by the game.
Right. Then it becomes
George Kittle at receiver.
You're going to have
just so spotty.
3 or 4 weeks at wide receiver where he might just not get you 10 points and then he'll get you 33. It's tough. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be definitely the more complete wide receiver, and I think that complements to Tyler Lockett well. I do look for Lockett to bounce back a little bit this year, even with his age. I think Lockett's going to be good.
He hasn't taken what I would call a beating.
No.
Just because of how he plays and what his skill set is.
But he's still that savvy, sneaky route runner.
He sure is.
I think Tyler Lockett has a good year still.
Okay, and we're assuming more of the same out of DK. I am.
I still think at the end of the year, even though I'm hyping Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think it goes Lockett, Metcalf, Njigba. So I still do think it hinders Njigba's fantasy value.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Ken Walker versus Charbonnet.
Ken Walker.
It's pretty clear to me that Walker's the more talented back here.
Yeah.
I think all around, period, end of story. Like, he is more talented than Zach Charbonnet.
If I'm coach of this team, Charbonnet, and nothing against the kid, he's a talented young back. He's a good player.
Sure. Yes.
That kid's getting like 5 to 7 touches a game, and the rest of the work is going to Kenneth Walker because I want that player on the field over Zach Charbonnet.
Solid handcuff, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if I'm drafting Ken Walker, you will bet
in Dynasty or Redraft, you want that.
And I'll go a little earlier than I should.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I have it, because Charbonnet stepped in last year and it was not great.
No.
But it wasn't terrible either.
But this isn't a San Fran situation either where you think it's going to be committee. Like if Walker goes down, Charbonnet's coming in.
It's not Kenny McIntosh.
No.
It's Charbonnet, period.
Yep.
I like that call. Nice. No interest in Jake Bobo, Derek Young. I would take a Jake Bobo jersey, though. I want that jersey. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
No, I can't say I really have any interest there, though.
D. Eskridge, we've seen enough. How about Noah Fant?
Noah Fant is a guy that, like, when he came out and he was in Denver, I took that kid for a couple of years just thinking something was going to happen. Then
he had his moments.
Yeah, and he got me sold. Like, oh, well, the injuries. So this year is going to be the year. I just don't think he's ever going to live up to that first round draft pick price that they paid for him.
Okay. I didn't think there was. I wanted to touch on that before we move forward. Are you good on Seattle?
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the Arizona Cardinals. Is it me or is Kyler Murray like ridiculously underrated in fantasy football?
No, he is.
I thought so. Because it's not just me loving quarterbacks who run, right?
No, Kyler still has that passing upside.
He does. He's got a cannon.
I would take his sample size last year, coming back off an ACL injury, starting midway through the season. You'll take that for a full year, and I think it gets better.
You're damn right. I agree. I fully agree. Again, it was a small sample size. I traded him to Mitchell in a redraft league and helped him out. It didn't hurt him.
No.
It didn't hurt him. I like Kyler Murray. And I like him where he's being drafted, whether it's a dynasty startup or just a redraft league.
Yeah, dynasty
It's
startup.
a good spot.
Dynasty startup for the podcast league we did the other night. I took CD Lamb. He fell to 12th, and when it came back around, Kyler Murray was my first quarterback. So I have a lot of confidence in Kyler Murray. Boosted receiver core helps. Arizona going more run heavy last year, it seems. This is another situation where I think that benefits Kyler Murray, takes some of the load off. Kyler Murray, like, are you shocked at the end of the year if Kyler Murray's a top 5 QB?
No.
Right. And where he's going, he's going like QB 10 to 15.
His average is 10. His ADP is 10.
Okay.
So in a 12-man league, like say you're in a redraft league, you can draft a lot of players before you take Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Do you like him over Purdy?
That's tough.
That's tough. They're right. They're 10 and 11 as far as ADP.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I like.
You're gonna
Kyler
say
Murray.
yeah. I'm gonna stick with Purdy just because I have a lot of faith in Shanahan.
I feel like if I have, it's a gut thing for me, but if I feel like
it's very close.
I think Purdy was available the other night when we did the draft, and I think I took Kyler Murray. So I'll stand by that. That if they're both available and sitting there, I'm probably taking Kyler Murray.
But just below that, ADP at 12 is Goff. I'm taking Murray over Goff.
Yeah.
I'm taking him over Tua.
Yep.
Taking him over Jaden Daniels. There's no. Oh, are you taking him over Herbert? Yeah, I think so.
I'm taking him over Herbert.
Yeah. Let's go above him. You going to take him over Prescott?
I did, and I kind of regret it, to be honest with you.
I got Prescott.
You got Prescott, yeah. I'm happy for you.
Caleb Williams and Prescott. I'm pumped over that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Prescott, no. I wish I would have taken Prescott. So after thinking about that,
we'll go up one more. Jordan Love.
I took Kyler Murray over Jordan Love because Jordan Love went right next. So yeah.
But you wouldn't over Burrow.
No.
Yeah, we're starting to get into now. That's 7.
It's a different tier.
It's a bit of a different tier.
When you hit Burrow, it's.
I just wanted to do that exercise real quick. Yeah, I like Kyler Murray, man. I have no qualms if you get him on your team. I think he will very helpful fantasy asset. Again, to a fault. I love the athletic athletic quarterbacks. Can bite me sometimes, but yeah, I would 100%. I would love to draft a team. I'll get myself, if I'm in a redraft, I want a couple receivers, a couple running backs. You could even say you might even be able to sneak a tight end in there before you snag, or your third receiver before you snag Kyler Murray. I have no issues with Kyler Murray this year.
No.
None. Okay. Which wide receiver do we expect to carve out a role behind Harrison and McBride? So you got Harrison and McBride. We're going to assume they're 1 and 2, right? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Behind him, Zay Jones, Michael Wilson.
I think it's Michael Wilson.
I think it's Michael Wilson too. I think Zay Jones is a very good receiver, but I think Michael Wilson showed enough last year, especially with the deep ball. Man, oh man.
Yeah, and with bad QB play at the beginning of the season, Michael Wilson had a sneaky year last year. If Murray's there the whole year, I think he has a lot better numbers. I think he's more even in his rookie year in an 800-900 yard receiving category versus the 565 that he finished with last year. Big-bodied receiver. I like Michael Wilson this year.
Yeah, I would take him over Zay Jones. I mean, if you're talking about like a dynasty startup or maybe you're rebuilding.
And honestly, I'm going to go, and this is nothing against Zay Jones because that guy has been nothing short of productive.
He's a very good NFL receiver.
I think Kyler Murray is a quarterback who can support 3 fantasy wide receivers.
And McBride.
Yeah, and McBride.
Okay.
I want Greg Dortch over Zay Jones. I think Greg Dortch is a sneaky pick.
Super underrated.
Where you're getting him in draft, I think he's a sneaky pick.
Yep.
And I think he's going to be fantasy relevant, give you some wide receiver.
People fall down and he steps right in.
Yeah.
And he's a great PPR machine.
But with Rondale Moore gone, I think he steps in right at the beginning of the year.
As the 2?
No, as the 3.
As the 3. Oh, okay. So you're calling it Harrison, Wilson, Dortch, Jones.
Yep.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm not going to fight you over that. that seems pretty
and it's
reasonable.
Close, and it's nothing against Zay Jones, but I just feel like Greg Dortch being there, being in the system, And when he is in there, Kyler Murray is not afraid to throw him.
No, not at all.
So I like Dortch.
There's a good rapport. There's real chemistry there.
I like Dortch coming in as wide receiver 3 at the beginning of the year, and I think he has a good season.
Staying on receivers.
Yep.
Is it too lofty to expect like true wide receiver 1 numbers from Harrison?
No, I think it happens this year.
You think it happens this year right out of the gate, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't had really an early enough pick to get Harrison, in all honesty. I'm hopeful, and
Boy, I almost did the other night at 5.
I think Harrison's just going to be lights out from word go. I really do. And it's, I'm not even saying I think he was the most talented receiver coming out of the draft, where he landed with Kyler Murray as his quarterback, and he's walking in there pretty much wide receiver X. I think this kid's going to go off year 1.
Very, Justin Jefferson kind of had that situation, except he had Thielen there.
Yeah.
Who is pretty, he's good.
Diggs wasn't there that first year?
What? Oh, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I have to go back and look at that. I might be an idiot for saying that, but no, I do not believe so.
They traded Diggs for that pick to get Jefferson.
Thank you, Mitchell.
Okay. Good call, Mitchell.
Mitchell, coming out of nowhere.
Coming in with the save.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. He's stepping into a fantastic role. I would imagine that Murray is going to want to get the ball to him. Running backs. Do you think that Trey Benson can overtake Connor at some point, or is that going to take an injury, or should we expect maybe just immediately like a shared workload, hot hand approach type deal between Benson and James Conner?
Benson is going to get some touches.
But it's James Conner's, right?
I don't think without injury he can overtake James Conner.
I don't think so either. I do not think so either.
Connor is, and I got to be honest, I'm a Pitt Panther fan. Connor played for the Steelers. Like, I root for this guy all the time, so I'm a little biased here.
He's easy to root for.
He is.
Always has been.
But man, the guy has just been solid. And as a pass catcher out of the backfield, he's super underrated.
Very.
I don't see, other than maybe a little bit of burst,
right,
anything that Trey Benson can do that James Conner can't. And I think running between the tackles, James Conner is far superior at the back.
But he's the handcuff to have.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be like what we just talked about with Charbonnet and Ken Walker. If James Conner goes down, it's Trey Benson's backfield. And this is another situation.
It is tough. Now, I will bring up a name here, is Amari DeMercado. And I know, but small sample size last year.
Is he
58 attempts, 284 yards with a 4.9 average. Like, it's, you think they brought in Trey Benson to be the complementary role, and I think they did. But I don't want to completely overshadow Amari DeMercado.
The only other is DJ Dallas there, I believe.
Yeah, I don't even know if he gets a roster spot with Trey Benson being there.
No, I wouldn't think so.
But DeMercado, I think, does, and he, in a small sample size last year, played well.
He is still there. Okay. So is Michael Carter.
Michael Carter played well last year, but I think it's going to be between Trey Benson, James Conner, and Amari DeMercado.
I will push on that a little bit. I think it's Trey Benson.
You think he's?
I think if you draft James Conner, don't reach, but go a little sooner than what you would think that you should, and take Trey Benson, I think you'll be okay.
I like the upside of Trey Benson. I came into that podcast league draft telling you that I wanted to get Trey Benson in that draft, and it just didn't happen. He got taken early.
Yeah, a little too early.
Yeah,
a little too
early.
For
me, even in a redraft dynasty,
there are lines here.
Dynasty, yeah.
Yep.
I was going to reach what I was going to do. What I thought was reaching for him, and he went. So,
okay, that's all I have here for Arizona. Do you have anything that you wanted to add?
Whoever's running the ball, this is a solid offensive line.
Yes,
that
it is, and people don't think of it that way.
No,
but it is.
They gave quarterbacks a lot of time last year, and they added Jonah Williams, tackle from the Seahawks, and they got Evan Brown, former Seahawks interior guy, and from the Bengals they got Jonah Williams. So could even be a little bit better this year.
Okay, fair enough. Last team, let's move on to the LA Rams. Tyler.
Yep.
Your guy.
Uh-oh.
Kyren Williams.
Yeah, boy.
You were screaming his name before anybody was screaming his name. You loved him.
I did.
Immediately loved Kyren Williams.
I had Kyren Williams on my team 2 years ago for like 9 weeks, and he did nothing. And I still drafted this guy the next year because it's a. And thank goodness I did last year because it was great.
It was fantastic. He's so good. He's ranked 8th among running backs on Fantasy Pros. By year's end, higher, lower, or just right. Health completely aside, assuming perfectly healthy all year. 8th on Fantasy Pros among running backs. Higher, lower, or just right?
Just right.
Well, let's let me get 2 running backs here. I think so too. I did glance at it very quickly, and I agree with you. I think there's one guy ahead of him. So he's 8. Travis Etienne is 7th. I'm taking Kyren Williams over Etienne all day long.
Yeah.
But after that, you got Barkley at 6.
No.
Taylor, Gibbs.
No. Taylor. That's tough. I'll take Kyren over Taylor.
But not over Gibbs.
No.
So you think he can finish like 3 spots higher, all the way up to 5?
Yeah, I think,
Well, not necessarily because you're not. It's 6.
I'm going
I
to say
guess.
a guy like Pacheco sneaks up into that. So I still have Kyren Williams as right in that sweet spot of 7 or 8. But I think a guy like Pacheco could potentially sneak up into that list. There's maybe a couple others that I'm not thinking of.
Right, right. So maybe just right is the answer.
For me, it is, yeah.
But except Etienne, I'm sorry. That's how Etienne is ranked ahead of Kyren Williams. And Rashad White and Isaiah Pacheco. I'm sorry. That's
people put a lot of stock in like when a team goes out and drafts a running back. And Blake Corum, I get it.
Yeah, but
He had a fantastic college career in Michigan. Dude, he's a one-cut runner, good, but I just don't see them taking. I see him coming in to give Kyren Williams a break here and there, but I still expect it to be a Kyren Williams backfield.
he is exactly what we just talked about with Walker and Charbonnet, Connor and Benson. Just the way Sean McVay does things. I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to be Boston Scott. It's not going to be Ronnie Rivers, and it's not going to be anything like a committee. If Kyren Williams goes down, Blake Corum, it's him.
Oh, yeah.
Period. 1,000%. He's just another situation. If I take Kyren Williams, I will make sure, and I'll go just a hair sooner to take Blake Corum.
Yeah.
I am a huge believer, if you haven't, those out there haven't figured out yet. If you have a handcuff who it's clear cut, it's just him. Like it's not going to be a mishmash when their RB1 goes down. You got to get that guy.
Yep.
Because it changes everything. Because then if you don't get Blake Corum, now you're on a scramble. Or if you don't get Trey Benson, or if you don't get Zach Charbonnet, when your guy goes down, now you're going to have to trade somebody to replace that. Or you're going to have to play waiver wire over and over and over and just try to like sneak a running back in there that might be able to get you RB2 numbers if you're super lucky.
And if you have 2 situations like that, where you can pretty much say that you own 2 backfields, you can get through a year with that.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's...
Yeah. And you could just be a wide receiver heavy draft. And you know what's crazy? It's not insane to think that you could have Williams and Corum, Connor and Benson. That's your running backs.
Connor's ADP it's low.
It is.
I think people are getting deals on Connor right now in drafts.
I agree. 1,000% agree.
Benson went way ahead of Connor for a reference point in the podcast league.
Sure.
And I get it. It was a dynasty.
Sure.
But still, Connor's not done.
He's not done. If you're drafting a win now team, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if you're drafting a win now team, and you took Benson, you better get James Conner.
Yeah.
But back to the Rams. I like the way Sean McVay does things with his running backs. Like it helps us so much in fantasy. I know he ain't thinking about us at all. We're a bunch of idiots to him, but I love when coaches do that just for our sake. Like at least when you draft this guy and this guy that if guy A goes down, it's guy B's job. Period. End of story.
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful feeling in fantasy
Sean McVay
football.
did say that he, like at a point in the season last year, he felt like Kyren Williams was getting too heavy of a workload.
Okay.
There were the games when that kid was getting 32 touches.
Yeah, well, and maybe to be fair, like good on him. Maybe he needs to McVay himself needs to reel himself back a little bit and be like, hey, let's give him a little more breaks here and there, which is fine. It's not going to hurt.
I think that's what Corum is if Kyron Williams is healthy.
Right. Okay. Cooper Kupp.
Coop.
Should we expect a bounce back in a big way, a small way, or are things simply slowing down for him? Can I go first on this one?
Do it.
Big way.
Yeah.
Big way. Yeah. He's got a solid year or two left in him. Easily a year. 100% has a year. Barring injury, he's a top tier wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's 2 years removed from a triple crown.
He's still got Stafford there with him. He's in the same exact system.
Best. You can make the argument that that's the best QB wide receiver rapport in the league.
It's
when he's on the field and he's healthy, it seems like Stafford is just looking for Cooper Kupp.
Redraft, I'm taking him, no problem. I'm not going to be worried about it because that's another thing. You got to be careful when you're drafting, man. You can't sit there and say, well, this guy just got hurt and this guy seems to get hurt fairly. I mean, you don't want to litter your team with that. But if you draft around injury, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
If you do that year after year after year, you'll see where the disappointments lie. And I think people are going to be disappointed if they don't take Cooper Kupp this year, whether it's...
He's fallen down the ADP.
Oh, yeah.
He's down there.
Yep. And whether it is... And I know Puka's there. That's going to take some things away. It just is. I get that. But if you're Dynasty, win now, you're a contender, I'm buying Cooper Kupp. If you're just redraft league, whatever, I'm going to find a way to get Cooper Kupp on my team, especially because of the way he's fallen down the rankings. So that's my. I think he bounces back in a big way. Maybe not triple. It's not going to be triple crown Cooper Kupp, but it's solid wide receiver, great for your fantasy team. Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to be fine, barring health, obviously. But if he is healthy, I have no problem with Cooper Kupp.
If he's healthy all year, easily 1,000-yard, 8 touchdown season.
Sure. Yeah, what's wrong with that? How about Puka, though? We touched on him. Is that rookie season sustainable? It seems a bit lofty to me, don't you think?
I think so, yeah. I could see him getting 6 touchdowns year in and year out. The 105 receptions, 1,400 yards is a little bit where I have a problem.
Yeah.
Now, that being said...
It has something to do with Kupp, too.
Yeah, if Kupp's not on the field...
Yes.
Then...
Maybe?
Puka Nacua becomes Matt Stafford's go-to guy.
Yes.
Clearly.
Yes.
And, I go back and forth on this. I do think Cooper Kupp is going to have a better year, and he's been talking all offseason about his health regime and how he changed his diet and his exercise habits and how he making a commitment to stay healthy this year. I do wonder, the other side of that is I wonder if this is now the Puka show. Is he target 1 over Cooper Kupp? Because if he is...
With them both healthy?
Yeah.
No,
I
don't think so.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's not lofty to think that, Ty. I don't think you're crazy. If that's your thought, if that's your opinion, I don't think it's insane. But I'm sticking with the Kupp and Stafford rapport.
Who in a redraft, they both fall to you? You're taking Cooper Kupp over Puka Nacua then? Redraft.
I have to. I've already made my case, so yes.
Mitchell?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I would go with Kupp in that case. Redraft.
I'm going with Puka.
Did Mitchell just chime in twice?
He did. We got Mitchell. He saved us and then he got to chime in.
Bird person with the W. Thanks, Mitchell. We appreciate you, buddy. Where are we at here? We went Puka. Yeah, where are we at with Matt Stafford?
I don't see... I think that season that we've seen from last year is what we can expect from Matt Stafford. I think he's still a high-level quarterback. Gunslinger at heart. Wants to throw the ball.
Big brain.
Yeah. High football IQ. And, I think these numbers go up, actually. I think Matt Stafford is pretty much a perennial 4,000-yard passer if he's healthy all year. 25 touchdowns seems right in the number. Maybe a little uptick.
Yep.
Win now. I don't have a problem trying to build a roster and then coming back and getting a guy like Matthew Stafford.
Dynasty startup you're talking? Like if you're drafting a
win now dynasty team or even a redraft. I've built countless teams
yeah.
in redraft leagues where I just drafted all the skill players I could, all the guys that I wanted to get, and then just come back and take like a Matthew Stafford.
Sure.
Phillip Rivers was my guy.
He was
for
your
like
guy forever.
Yeah,
Oh man, you and Julie.
yeah.
You guys would fight over him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was teams like in Chad's one redraft league where I bet I had Phillip Rivers 5 years in a row. No joke.
Yeah, every year. He was your guy.
Yeah.
He was fine until fantasy playoffs hit.
Yeah.
Then you had to start like, well, maybe I'll get
The
like
end of the season thing with Phillip Rivers was tough.
yeah, it's tough, man.
But I see Matthew Stafford as that from a fantasy standpoint. I mean, if you want to build a team and go with a veteran quarterback and thinking you're getting value out of those skill positions earlier, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay. I want to be clear real quick too. I'm going to go back to the Puka and Cup thing. The reason I say Cup and redraft is because you ain't getting Puka.
Higher ADP for sure.
Well, I'm talking. You're a contender. You've been in the league. Your league's going all right. Your startup was 3 years ago. I don't know. You're not getting Puka.
Throwing a dynasty. You're
No,
saying.
yeah, no one's giving you Puka. Like if you have Puka Nakua on your dynasty team, I mean,
So
you
you're
better
like-
be getting a haul if you're letting him go. So my point there is, you buy the cheaper guy who can have essentially the same output.
with the upside.
Yeah, the upside's there in a win now
Well,
spot.
my question was in a redraft.
In a redraft,
Do you still take the upside with Cup if they're both staring you right in the face?
if they're both staring me in the face, man, I think I have to go Puka. I'll go back
Yeah.
on that. Yeah,
Alright.
I don't want to give anyone bad information. I think that's the move to make. I just think people are worried about Cooper Kupp. And if you can get him for a late second, mid to late second, why wouldn't you? If someone will take that and you're a contender right now and they're not, they're rebuilding, why not?
Yeah,
I just think that's, I don't think it's over for Cooper Kupp.
fair enough.
All right. Do you have anything else to add here? That's our last team.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, right on. Okay, that will do it for our division by division series. Next up will be a reaction to our 14-man podcast Dynasty League startup draft, where we'll cover some different strategies, react to our own and league mates rosters. We'll cover some other things as well, I'm sure. It's a legit league, like we said, with real people and real money and real legit fantasy football players. So that should be pretty fun to cover, and we'll go over all kinds of stuff. Hey, remember to like, follow, and subscribe to our Spotify, YouTube, and Twitter. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time, everybody.